What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Ralphdatrader here, back with another NQ weekly recap video. Sorry wasn't able to make a video these past weeks. I was moving into a new place, so finally got a little bit of time on my hand to make a video this week on NQ just to see what opportunities were available to us using a 15-minute time frame and looking at the New York session only. All right, so let's get right into it. All right, so for Monday, guys, Monday we had no major red news out on Monday. Okay, so we had no major red news out on Monday, but we're still looking to see if we get either a trigger day or a signal day. So the trigger days, you guys know I like to look for is to see if price triggered a previous day's high, previous day's low, previous month's high, previous month's low, or previous week's high, or previous week's low. And the signal day that I prefer to look for is the inside day. Signal day is when price closes inside of a previous day's high or a previous day's low. So that's the signal day, and those are the trigger days that I like to look for. So coming into Monday, we had no major red news out on Monday. All right. So we had no major red news out on Monday. So as we can see from the chart here, that when the market opened up Sunday heading into Monday, we had a bunch of accumulation. All right. For in Asian session, all the way into the London session, we had nothing but accumulation. All right. So we see that price is accumulating. And then finally, during the gap time coming in from London into the New York session, price gave a nice little dump. Right. So still no trigger or signal. Okay. So as price proceeds and the market proceeds to open up, all right, during our New York session, we get a trigger of our previous day's low. All right. So previous day's low has been triggered. So now only thing we're waiting for, we're waiting to allow the market to set up and allow the market to show us if it's going to reverse or is it going to continue with the existing trend. Now, the existing trend that the market is in on the 15-minute time frame is we're trending down. All right. So we had some accumulation. So they break out of the accumulation. All right. So giving us a nice little dump. All right. 930 gives us a trigger of our previous day's low. All right. So, but we still need to wait on confirmation. All right. We want to wait to see if the market is going to show us if it's going to reverse or if it's going to continue with the existing trend. So 930 triggered the previous day's low. All right. 945 proceeds to push the market back up to the upside. All right. So 10 a.m. Now we're going into that third hour. All right. So we know we're looking for trades typically around that third hour. So during that third hour, all right. So here's our third hour. The market proceeds to close as a bullish candle once again, but still there's nothing telling us that the market wants to go long here. All right. So because the market is in the right now the market is at that bottom part of our 100 pip box. All right. So the 100 pip box, we're at that bottom part of the 100 pip box. So we triggered here at 930, but price did not give us any confirmation. All right. No engulfing, no pin hammer on the next count at 945. All right. So 10 a.m. they continue with the bullish candle close. All right. So still no confirmation. And then at 10:15, we get a bearish engulfing. All right. So this right here sealed the deal for a short trade. All right. So then at 10:30, you had a nice nail and bell 50-point short trade back to the downside. All right. So even though the previous day's low was triggered, but we had no confirmation for a long trade. All right. So if you printed off charts, all right, and just look at some of the other examples that I showed, all right, on the channel when price triggered the previous day's low. All right, so I know what it is that I'm looking for, and this does not look like that. All right, so this does not look like anything that I'm looking for. All right, so but once we got this engulfing candle at 10:15, this just confirmed that they're going to continue pushing the market down, and also we know that it's Monday. All right, so don't be expecting anything huge, but we still were able to capture a 50 point 50 points off of this trade when the market continuing to the downside. All right, so heading into that Tuesday. All right, going into Tuesday, we had major red news out at 8:30. So this week we had a bunch of major red news out with USD. All right, with USD pairs. All right, so we had a bunch of major red news, and I'm not sure why TradingView put in this gap, because on TraderVate and Top Step, platforms, we don't have this gap in here. All right, so not sure why they put why TradingView has this gap, but as you guys can see, that price did trigger the previous day's high. All right, so here was the previous day's high, and we also triggered the previous week's high coming into our New York session. So New York session, we had major red news out at 8:30. So like always, we want to just wait and allow the market to show us what it's going to do. So we had our major red news out at 8:30. All right, we want to wait until the market opens up at 9:30. Here's our 9:30 candle. So we can clearly see that the price action is really choppy. All right, you can see that price action is really choppy. We're at the top part of our 100 pip box, and you can just pay attention to how look at these wicks and look at how price is behaving. All right, we're failing to break above this area. Okay, then finally, all right, 10:45 finally, all right, they proceed to push about 50 points, all right, outside of that 100 pip box, giving us a nice bearish close. But this is not an engulfing candle for me, guys. Not an engulfing, because if you look at the wicks on both sides, I don't like when a candle has these long wicks on both sides. It's indecision. They do not know which way they want to go. I don't like this. Is not an engulfing candle for me. All right, so for me, that's not an engulfing candle. All right, so I will continue to just wait. All right, so as price closed, but price closed underneath of the 00. So that is a good thing, even though price closed. So we need to see price retest and then come back and show some confirmation. So as price closed up underneath 00, then just patiently just continue to wait. All right. And like I said, we had FOMC news out, a lot of news out this week. So if you just patiently just waited, then this is the next candle at 11:15. All right, 11:15, we get a nice engulfing candle. Now see how you just have the wick to the upside showing rejection, but there's no wick to the downside. All right, so we're clearly showing rejection that we don't want to push up any higher. All right, so this right here is a nice engulfing candle, and knowing that entries for the short sale, all right, we want to take entries around 00 or 75. All right, so clearly once price pulls back to 75, you clearly had a nice little entry here and had a nice little move to the downside. All right, all the way back to closing price. Okay, so you had to be patient on Tuesday. All right, just had to be a lot more patient on Tuesday because the trade did not happen in that third hour. But if you're just patient and you know what it is that you're looking for and you understand your candlestick patterns, then patient pays. All right, so everything did line up. All right, everything did happen. We just had to wait it out a little bit, and then the trade happened around that 12 o'clock, going into that 1 o'clock hour. But we still had a setup here. All right, so maybe on a different pair, it happened during the third hour. But like for me, I mainly trade NQ. So for me, I'm just really looking at the one instrument, okay? Because at work, this is all I really can really do is pay attention to really one instrument. So I would have just patiently waited till everything lined up. Like I said, this was not an engulfing for me because of the wicks on both sides. I don't like that. That's more of an indecision. And then finally here at 11:15, we did get a nice engulfing candle. And I want to take entries around 00 or the 75 level for the short trade. All right. Then we just allow the market play out. If we get stopped out, guys, we get stopped out. But if everything is confirmed, if it meets your criteria, don't be hesitant to take the trade. We're not going to win them all, but everything was the criteria was met to take a trade here, and it would have worked out if you took this trade. Now, going into Wednesday, free cash Wednesday, all right, we just want to wait until we get an alert, and as you guys, or a trigger day or a signal day. Okay, so we can clearly see that on that Wednesday, coming into free cash Wednesday, we had FOMC news out at 2 a.m. So majority of the time when it's around at 2 a.m., what I've noticed, you really don't have a setup during that time. So you guys can see we did not get a trigger of a previous day's high or a previous day's low or weekly high or weekly low. We had triggered the previous week's high on that Tuesday. So coming into free cash Wednesday, we did not get a trigger of a previous day's high or previous day's low. So there was no trade set up there. So no trigger day, no signal day. All right, now going into our Thursday. All right, going into Thursday. All right, heading into our Thursday, we had major red news out at 8:30. Once again, we had major red news out at 8:30. Okay, so during the London session, you can see that price triggered the previous day's high. Now coming into our New York session, all right, we get a trigger the previous day's high, but if we pay attention to price action. Price action is in a uptrend. All right. So you always want to look at market structure too. Always pay attention to market structure. Price is in an uptrend. We triggered the previous day's high in London session. Okay. So coming into our New York session, we triggered the previous month's so in London session, we triggered the previous day's high. Sorry about that. We triggered the previous day's high in London session. So there goes our trigger. All right. So that gives us a reason to look at NQ, NAS100. All right. Coming into our New York session at 9 a.m., price triggers the previous month's high. All right. So now we have all time frame traders in the market, because remember on that Wednesday we triggered the previous week's high. So the market continue in this uptrend. So now we want to allow the market to show us its hand, show us what it wants to do. So as price triggered the previous month's high, all right, trigger the previous month's high, we still need to wait until after 9:30. All right, we're looking to take trades around that third hour. So we around that 10 a.m. hours when we're looking to take trades to see if the market has something set up. So here's our 9:30 candle. All right, we're just patiently waiting, and you can see that price is making higher highs and higher lows. Okay, so price is trending up. All right, and look where we're at inside of our 100 pip box. We're in that buying area of our 100 pip box. So we're just looking for some confirmation. We triggered the previous month's high. We triggered the previous day's high. So let's see if the market gonna show us a setup for a sell high setup. But once the New York Stock Exchange opened up at 9:30, all right, we're waiting on that third hour. 10 a.m. Here's our third hour. 10 a.m. gives us an engulfing candle. All right, give us an engulfing candle for a trade continuation. All right, so you got your 50 points and you out. All right, 10:15. We're staying in line with the trend. We triggered the previous day's high. We triggered the previous month's high, but price action is showing us, all right, we're coming off of day zero where price triggered the previous day's high and low. Okay, so that's a day zero setup. And then pay attention to price action, even if you don't know the day zero setup, all right, because I don't trade day zero setups, but I just know this is what Stacy calls it. When price trigger a previous day's high and a previous day's low, it's a day zero setup. But I'm paying attention to market structure. Market structure is showing me higher highs and higher lows. Okay, so even though I triggered the previous day's high and the previous month's high, but once I get into my session, the market is not showing me any reversal. Okay, 9:30 is the indecision candle. Okay, 9:45 indecision candle. 10 a.m. engulfing. I'm in. Okay, I'm in with the existing trend. 50 points and you're out. Okay, there's your setup. Just pay attention to market structure. Okay, now going into Free Cash Friday. All right, going into Free Cash Friday, we had no major red news, but we did have medium impact news, which is an orange folder on Forex Factory, FOMC at 11:30 and 2 p.m. So no major red news. Okay, so we had no major red news. Now we're looking for a trigger. All right, we're looking for a trigger. So as you guys can see, that our monthly high was triggered. Okay, the monthly high was triggered. All right, so we had accumulation. All right, they break out of accumulation, gap time, they push it market back up to the upside. Now, no previous day's high or previous day's low was triggered, okay, but our previous month's high was triggered. So for me, that is a trigger day. I look for previous month's high, previous week's high, previous day's high. Previous month's high was triggered. Now I'm just waiting until after 9:30 when the New York Stock Exchange open up, and I'm waiting until around that third hour. So here's our New York Stock Exchange candle right here. This is a 9:30 candle. All right, 9:30 candle here. And then 9:45, okay, 9:45 gives us a bearish engulfing. Now, this wick at the top side is showing clear rejection that they don't want to go up. But we did not have a long wick on this side. So this wick on the downside is smaller. All right, so you get a bearish engulfing candle here. All right, bearish engulfing. Okay, but also you get this bearish engulfing candle. All right, so now depending on where you take entries at, okay, depending on where you want to take a entry at, you want to get in above the double zero, and typically, you know, sometimes I like to wait until price pulls back at least 50% of an engulfing candle. Okay, so depending on where you want your stop, all right, you could have entered, you know, on that next candle at 10 a.m. All right, and depending on where you had your stop at, because it was confirmed here. All right, it was confirmed here. Okay, price was confirmed, right? with this engulfing candle. Now you just want to, take your trade and set your stop loss. Typically, you want your stop loss at the highs. All right. So, but you can see at 10 a.m., all right, they did give a little pullback. All right, they did give a little pullback. So depending on where you're stopped, you might got stopped out, but you could have just re-entered once again. Okay, you could have just re-entered once again. But the trade was there. Okay, the setup was there for the move back to the downside. It triggered the previous month's high. All right, gave you the bearish engulfing. All right, 10 a.m. We could have taken the entry, allow the candles, allow it to pull back. That's typically what I like to do. I like to see it pull back before I take a entry. I like to see it pull back and see how far it's going to pull back. And once it starts to drop back down, I would take an entry. All right. Or you could have just waited until price closed up underneath of this 00 level as well, and then also just took a trade there. All right. But the setup was still there. All right. The setup was still there. You had the bearish engulfing. All right. We're getting in, we want to get in at the numbers above the numbers. So we had the bearish engulfing. We could have got in at 10 a.m. and then allowed the trade to play out. So, wasn't some clean setups, they wasn't that clean, but if you understand, your candlesticks and you just trade the same setup that you always trade and you just allow it to play out, then what I mean, you're gonna win. You're going to win. Even if you take a L, you still won. And the reason why, if you take an L, and the reason why I say that you still won is because you traded your setup. Okay, you traded your setup. So wasn't as a clean week that we've seen in the past, but it's not always going to be very perfect. All right, it's not always going to be perfect, but if you understand what it is that you're looking for, the setups was still there. All right. You still had some setups where we still had some opportunities to make some profit from last week. So, what I mean, hopefully this coming week be a lot better. But if not, we take what the market gives us. All right. So like always, man, work hard, stay disciplined, be patient, and know that your time will come, and be the reason someone smiles today. Be the reason someone smiles today. Peace and love. Have a good one.